So I want to talk about what has happened in the terms of the MCU and Marvel Studios and the future of this entire universe over the last, let's say, year or so. Essentially, we know that Marvel has made it very well known that they don't want to do anything more than trilogies for their standalone characters. We know right now if they were to go to Robert Downey Jr. and offer him the same amount of money, $50 million a movie like he's getting for the Avengers movie to do Iron Man 4, 5, and 6, he would gladly take it, they would gladly offer it, and they would have another series of movies that brings in $1 billion plus. But they clearly don't want that because they understand the brands they have, and the brand that the people will take is something that's a lot more fresher, that's not rinse and repeat. Which is why Spider-Man has taken a different approach in the MCU, trying to be very different from what they've done before. It looks different, it sounds different, it is different. And we have, of course, seen with the release and success of Spider-Man Homecoming being one of the highest rated superhero movies out there, that they now have this character, and he is literally the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, what I mean by this is, when you go back to the early 2000s, Spider-Man was the biggest name in superheroes along with the X-Men, and here came Iron Man, and everybody was laughing at the movie. And then Iron Man becomes the biggest superhero that decade, and literally goes on to spawn the biggest film franchise and film universe in the world with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and suddenly the landscape of Hollywood shifted in this weird dynamic that nobody expected. And at the same time, Spider-Man was failing because they weren't doing anything that people wanted to see. So now that this deal has been made to bring Spider-Man over into the MCU, you could tell that Marvel is really building the next decade all around this character staying there and being a part of this massive world, while these older characters are going to slowly step down. And Spider-Man Homecoming was literally Marvel passing the torch. And what I mean by that is, when you look at how the movie is structured, how it's framed, there's that specific line where Tony goes, "I wanted you to be better," when Peter says, "I want it to be like you." That's because we know what has happened with Iron Man. We've seen him in like 5, 6 movies, who knows how many now. We've seen his character arc starting from this scumbag to become a character we can respect, and we see his ideals, and we see when he's acting a certain way that he might just be doing it in the best interest of what he thinks. He's not the same douche that he was at the beginning of Iron Man 1. And now that he can take Peter Parker and try to mold him in his own image to avoid those mistakes, it's a literal passing of the torch for these characters, because Peter Parker is going to learn, and he's in this world where superheroes have been around for most of Peter Parker's life that he can remember. So Iron Man is not really needed anymore when you really think about it. And come Phase 4, you're going to have Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, new Guardians spin-offs. Ant-Man is a big franchise around the world. For the love of God, Ant-Man is a franchise. Okay? So, who better to lead the future than a young superhero? And it's important that he's leading it because, guess what? If this teen can lead a movie, it probably means that there's other teen superheroes out there that could lead their own. Which is pretty huge, considering that there's an entire market of children just waiting to be exposed to younger heroes that they might know. Which is kind of an interesting thing when you think about it, that Nova had a big part of the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon that all the kids were watching. So who knows what they'll do with characters like that. But literally, Spider-Man Homecoming was a passing of the torch movie, and I think it was a perfect one to do it in.